So hello and welcome to this live digital marketing workshop. My name is Elliot King. I am the CEO and co-founder of Mint Twist. Mint Twist is the digital marketing agency that produces these workshops, and you can find out more about Mint Twist at minttwist.com. Today's workshop is being live streamed to LinkedIn and a number of other channels, and we are doing that using the Restream software. So you can find out more about all of that software at restream.io. So the topic of today's workshop is all about how to live stream to LinkedIn events. Okay, and so there's a number of concepts here that we'll discuss. So the first of them is the names on the tin. It's LinkedIn events. So some of you might not be aware of LinkedIn events. They're a relatively new feature, but they're open and available to all users. So if you go to your LinkedIn homepage and look on the left-hand side as you look at the screen, you'll see an area for events there. So you can freely go in and you can create events, and then you can invite first-level connections to those events. As we go through the workshop, we'll talk more about the details of how you actually do that. So the next concept is LinkedIn Live. So the live functionality that's part of LinkedIn is in beta mode, and they've released it. They've released it to a limited number of profiles. So you have to make an application to get access to LinkedIn Live, and then you can apply either to get access for yourself, for your personal profile, or for the company or one of the companies that you're linked to. So for the purposes of this workshop, we'll assume that either you or your company have access to LinkedIn Live. LinkedIn will be releasing it to potentially all of the profiles over the next period of time. So if you don't have it yet, it will be coming your way soon. And then what you need to be able to stream to LinkedIn, whether it's to an event or to your actual profile, is you need a third-party streaming software. So for the purposes of today, we're going to talk about how to use the Restream software to actually stream your video content to LinkedIn. And then the final component is Zoom. So I'm going to assume that most people are very, very familiar with Zoom. So what we're demonstrating today is how to broadcast to a LinkedIn event your Zoom conversation. So the reason why I thought it would be good to do today's workshop on this topic was because just a few weeks ago here at the agency, we experimented with this setup, and the experiment was pretty successful. So a few weeks ago, our agency teamed up with Fin Partners, which is a global marketing communications agency, and we created some content that was targeted at the travel and tourism sector. It was looking to demonstrate how to use social media to allow them to improve their marketing communications. And we created some content that was fed out to an ABTA event, so the Association of British Travel Agents. And when after we created that content, we thought, let's leverage it, let's use it on another, for another purpose. And so on that panel, I was one of 4 people, and myself and the other 3 people on the panel all had pretty strong connections on LinkedIn, pretty large networks on LinkedIn. So we thought, why not try and leverage that content. Let me just make sure I'm streaming correctly. I'm streaming correctly to some channels, but we appear to, oh, there we go. We're back again. Okay, the beauty of live. Yes, so today we are going to demonstrate how to live stream to a LinkedIn event via Zoom. So without further ado, let's get into the content. So this is part of digital marketing workshop series, and we've got a sort of mini series which is all about live streaming. What we're going to talk about over the next 10 minutes or so, well, we'll talk about the benefits of a LinkedIn event. We'll actually show you what that is. We'll talk about how to set one up, and then how you can market that event pre and post the event. And then we'll talk about the mechanics of how to set up the streaming software so that you can actually stream to LinkedIn. And then we'll talk finally about how you can use Zoom. So your Zoom conversation, in this case, a Zoom webinar or Zoom panel or Zoom workshop with 4 people, and we want to stream that content live to LinkedIn. So let's step into the first slide. So how does this work? So first of all, we've got a LinkedIn event that we set up in LinkedIn, and then we've got our Zoom call, and then we've got behind the scenes the Restream system or your streaming software of choice. And those 3 things together allow us to stream to a LinkedIn live event. So first of all, a LinkedIn event then. So as I sort of mentioned, if you go to your homepage of LinkedIn, go to the left-hand side, you can click on the Create an Event tab, and you'll be presented with a screen that looks like this. You can enter in a logo, you can enter in a background graphic for your event. You can obviously give it a name. And the first question you have to ask is the organizer. So you can organize an event as yourself, or you can organize an event as your company that you're connected to. So the key differentiator really here is that once we've set up an event, you get to send automatic invites to all of your first level connections, but it will only be the first level connections of the organizer. So if you set it up in the name of your company, you'll send it to first level connections of your company. If you set it up as yourself, as the organizer, it will be your own first level connections. The other thing you have to remember is if you've got LinkedIn live capability, is that live capability connected to your company profile or your personal profile, or both? If it's both, then you have the choice. If it's one or the other, then you have to go with that, assuming you want to live stream to the event. So next you've got this checkbox which says, is this an online event? If you check yes, then obviously you're setting up that event with the potential to be able to live stream, via LinkedIn live streaming to that event. If you're going to make it a LinkedIn live, then you can leave this broadcast link as blank. If you want to use a third-party platform to broadcast to, then you can do that. So you could put in, for example, a YouTube events link here if you were broadcasting to YouTube, and then from within LinkedIn, anyone who's attending would then click on that link. They'll be taken out of LinkedIn and watch it on YouTube. But for the purposes of today's demonstration, we're streaming directly into LinkedIn, which from a LinkedIn perspective would create more engagement. So then you can enter, some more information about the start date, time, end date, time. The interesting thing about this is if you want to run a series of connected events over a long period of time, you can have a start date and an end date that might be 10 weeks or even 10 months apart. There's no sort of guidance from LinkedIn that says they don't want you to do that. So that might be something to consider. You can enter a description. Now, the next interesting thing is speakers. So if, as in the example that we're talking about here, you've got a number of speakers involved, and we had 4. If you put those speakers, if you put their profile names into that speaker's entry box and you link them in there, then the benefit of doing that is that they then become a de facto organizer of the event, and they can then send invites to their own first level connections. So if you've got 4 people with good independent networks on LinkedIn, you want to leverage all of those joint organizers or joint speakers, then you can enter their names in this section and they are invited to that event. Assuming they accept that invite, they then have the ability to invite their own first level contacts. You can make it a public event or a private event. For public, then anyone who goes to your profile can theoretically see your event and sign up for it. If it's a private event, it will only be the people that you send invitations to. And so once you've created all that, then the event is then created and it sits on LinkedIn. When you first create it, it will just be you. So really you need to promote the event. So an important point that we didn't really mention is that if you are going to set up an event and you want lots of people to come, then you definitely need to take this step in advance of the actual event itself. I would say, days, at least days, or preferably a week or more. And once you've set up an event, you've then got 3 main ways of promoting it. So first of all, you can invite connections. And it's really important that you do this. So once you click that invite button, it will give you a list essentially of all of your first level connections. You can sort that list by industry or by company, you know, and by a number of other sort of factors, and then you can kind of mass invite. Not everyone, you have to create some sort of subset, but you can, for example, invite all of your first level connections that are connected to the travel and tourism industry. You can also let your network know about the event by sharing a post. So what will happen here is if you share a post, you can say, I'm running this event. If you're interested, please sign up here. And that post will include a link to this event page where guests can sign up. You can start a conversation in the event itself, which will post to the events page. It's important to know that the only people who will see that post are people who have accepted an invite to the event. So it will be a limited number of people. You can also run polls, and you can add images and videos and files. Okay, so we've got our event set up in LinkedIn. Great. We're now ready to connect our streaming software and to make the whole thing work. So the next step we have to take there then is, excuse me. The next step we have to take there then is to set up our streaming software. So we mentioned that we are using Restream.io for the purposes of this workshop. So inside Restream.io, you click the LinkedIn channel. It will prompt you to connect your LinkedIn. You'll need to be logged into LinkedIn in order to do that. And then you have a choice of saying, do we want to connect? Do we want to stream to a LinkedIn event, or do we want to stream directly to the profile? So we would, for the purposes of this example, we would choose events, and then we would put in the event URL. It's simply the URL from that event page we were just looking at. We can set the visibility to public, assuming we want it to be publicly available. And then we've essentially set up Restream.io, and it's connected to LinkedIn, ready to start streaming once we're actually ready to go. And in order to stream from a Zoom call, we would obviously start our Zoom call in completely the normal way, wait for our guests. In this case, we're talking about a panel of 4 guests who joined the Zoom event. And then you're not going live at this stage. In order to go live, you then click the More button at the bottom of Zoom. You would then pick Connect to Live via Custom Streaming Service. So once you click on this button, Zoom will open up a browser window and will ask you for 2 main things. So first of all is the streaming URL, and secondly is the streaming key. So both of these things are available from the Restream system, or whatever streaming software you're using. You would log into them, and the streaming URL typically would be visible to everyone. In this case, we're using a local streaming URL, which is a streaming server in London. And then the streaming key here, this is the important one. This is unique to you and your profile. So you never want to show people what this is, which is why it's blanked out like this. You would simply copy the key and then paste it into that section that Zoom's asking us for. And so by doing this, we've actually built a connection between Zoom and between our streaming software. And the streaming software already has the connection to LinkedIn. So once we hit done here, then we're actually going live, and we are broadcasting live to our LinkedIn event, and it might look like this, or however you want to arrange your Zoom window. You can obviously run all of the usual tricks with Zoom, including screen share and all the rest of it. And that is it. So let's review what we've learned. So we've talked about the benefits of a LinkedIn event. It really lets you leverage the first level connections of yourself, but also your co-speakers and co-organizers. Talked about how to set up an event on LinkedIn. And once you've set up an event on LinkedIn, if you've done it sufficiently in advance, then you're able to market that event in advance, which should increase the relevance and number of attendees. The event stays live even after it's ended, and you can carry on posting to that event page. Obviously, relevant content, would still be of interest to those attendees, days and potentially weeks after the event. And then we spoke about how you set up a Restream or streaming software to act as essentially the middleware between the event and what you're doing. And then finally, we just showed you how to press go on the Zoom button. So that's it for today's workshop. Thank you very much for listening. I look forward to seeing you in another workshop very soon.